Jnanakosha, Puranas, Introduction.
सर्गश्च प्रतिसर्गश्च वंशो मन्वन्तराणि च वंशानुचरितं चैव पुराणं पञ्चलक्षणम्.
Vishnu Purana. Childhood of Lord Krishna. The time passed in Gokul as usual. Balarama and Krishna too grew normally. Soon they began to walk on knees and palms. With their childish plays, they both amused men and women folk of Gokul. Everyone took special care of them and looked after them to save them from any possible danger. Ladies folk were especially careful about them. Soon afterwards, both the kids began to walk trottingly. Now their movement no longer confined within the boundary of their home. Because of his special virtues, Krishna began to lead other kids of his age group, whereas his elder brother Balarama was somewhat serious in nature. Krishna especially enjoyed teasing the girls and milkmaids of Gokul. Often he would eat stealing their milk, curd and butter. At other times he did not hesitate even to break their pitchers. In such situation, the lady folk used to gather in Nanda's home to complain against Krishna. And every time Yashoda promised them to punish Krishna. But every time when she proceeded to punish him, she forgot everything before his sweet, innocent smile. One day Balarama complained against Krishna. Ma, the little Kannaya has even eaten mud. Worried about Krishna's health, Yashoda scolded at him. Tell me, O mischievous Krishna, why did you eat mud? At that moment, little Krishna's eyes were moving with fear. He made an excuse. No, ma, I have not eaten any mud. They are telling you a lie. If you don't believe me, see yourself. Saying this, Krishna opened his little mouth. Yashoda peeped into his mouth, and what she saw there amazed her. She could not believe it. The entire universe was visible in the little mouth. Yashoda saw strange places, entire Vraj, and even herself in the little mouth of Krishna. She felt dizzy. With his illusionary powers, Lord wiped out the memory of this incident from the mind of Yashoda, and she again immersed in love with her child. Ukhal Bandhan and salvation of Yamala Arjuna. Once wishing to feed Krishna with butter, Yashoda began to churn milk in the morning. Very soon Krishna too awakened, and not finding the mother in her bed, he set out to search her. Soon he found her in the courtyard where she was churning the milk. He began to insist for breastfeeding at once. So Yashoda stopped churning and began to breastfeed Krishna. Affection played on her face. Suddenly the milk kept on the fire pot began to boil. Yashoda left Krishna in order to attend the boiling milk. But the unstated Krishna, filled with anger, and broke the pitcher of curd. Then he went inside and began to eat butter. When Yashoda came back, she understood the matter and began to search him with a stick in her hand. After eating butter himself, Krishna was not feeding the monkeys with it. Seeing the mother come in hot pursuit, Krishna jumped over the mortar and ran away. Yashoda chased him, but soon felt tired because of her bulky body. Thereafter Yashoda proceeded to tie Krishna as a punishment. She got a rope and tried Krishna, but the rope fell short by 2 fingers. She joined many ropes together, but the result was same. Every time the ropes fell short of 2 fingers. Soon Yashoda was bathing in sweat. When Krishna saw his mother in depression, he himself tied in the ropes. Stuttering little Krishna to have a heavy motor, Yashoda engaged in usual household tasks. Tethered to the motor, Krishna glanced at the two Arjuna trees which were standing on the gate like two sentries. He resolved to save them. Maitreya asked Parashara about the trees. Parashara said, the Lord of Wealth Kubera had two sons, Nalakubera and Manigriva. One day they were enjoying the sweet company of pretty women on the bank of Mandakini river. Just by coincidence, Devarshi Narada arrived there. Out of shyness, the women folk at once covered themselves, but both the sons of Kubera stood boldly without feeling any shame. Indignant Narada cursed them to become trees and stay in that form for 100 years. Narada showed kindness as well, that despite being in tree forms, they would have the memory of God alive and would be saved by Sri Krishna. Thus, to keep the words of his supreme devotee, Narada Lord dragged the mortar to the two Arjuna trees. He walked in such a way that the mortar got stuck between the trees. Krishna then pulled the mortar, and in no time the trees were uprooted. Two divine men appeared from the uprooted trees and bowed at the feet of Krishna and prayed him with pure hearts. Then they departed to their heavenly abode. Migration to Vrindavan. The uprooted Arjuna trees fell with thundering song. All the people shivered with fear and felt as if lightning had struck somewhere. All the elders, including Nanda, met together and discussed the matter. Unanimously, they concluded that of late disturbance had increased in Gokul and the circumstances were no longer conducive to raise the kids like Balarama and Krishna there. So they unanimously decided to leave Gokul and migrate to a verdant place named Vrindavana. In their opinion, Vrindavana had ample vegetation and fertility to support them and their cattle. Thus, an auspicious day, the entire population of Gokul set out for Vrindavana. They packed their households on bullock carts and drove their cattle in herds and started in convoy. In Vrindavana, they built their houses and started their life once again. Parashara says, the verdant environment of Vrindavana, Govardhana mountain, and crystal clear waters and sandy banks of Yamuna river together filled the hearts of Balrama and Krishna with joy. With the fellow cowards, they began diverse kinds of plays there. Salvation of Vatasasur. One day Balrama and Krishna were grazing their cattle on the bank of Yamuna river. A demon meanwhile took the guise of a cow and mixed with the herd. Obviously he had malicious intentions. Lord Krishna had already seen the demon taking calf's guise and mixing up with the herd. He signaled Balrama and they together reached near the calf. The calf appeared particularly healthy. So Krishna and Balrama mockingly saw it with admiring eyes. Suddenly they held the calf with its hind legs and tail twiddling it in air. They threw it in the sky. When the demon died, they threw him on a cart, wood apple tree. Salvation of Bakasur. One day all the cowherds took their cattle to a large pond to let them drink water. There they saw a huge creature sitting like a hillock on the bank. They were frightened by its appearance. The creature was in fact a demon named Bakasur, who had arrived there in the guise of a stork. He was himself very strong and had a long pointed bill. As soon as the cowherds drew near him, the stork hastily picked up Krishna and swallowed him. Other cowards, including Balrama, were stupefied. They could not believe their eyes. But inside the beak, Lord Krishna made him extremely hot and caused severe burning in devil's throat. So the demon could not swallow Krishna and regurgitated him and began to hit him with his strong beak. But Lord held his beak with both his hands and tore the demon's mouth apart. And as demon died, a ripple of joy surged among the cowherds. Salvation of Aghasur. One day Krishna planned a picnic near Nandanvan. So risingly early in the morning, he awakened his fellow cowherds. Sounding a horn, together all the cowherds and their cattle went to the forest. There on the bank of Yamuna river, they began to play joyfully. Nandanvan was in fact an abode of the demon Aghasur. Kansa had sent him there. Seeing the boys playing, he felt extremely jealous. Knowing that Krishna had killed his brother Bakasur and sister Putana, it seemed an ideal moment for the demon to avenge the death of his siblings. Thinking thus, the demon took guise of python and lay in the way and opening his mouth like a opening of a cave. The cowherd too fell in his trap. Thus driven by curiosity, all the cowherds entered the demon mouth one by one. When Lord Krishna saw that his friends had entered demon's mouth, he too entered it to protect them. Aghasur wanted to masticate the cowherds, including Lord Krishna, but the Lord increased his body and choked demon's throat. Now the breath of demon stopped. His eyes rolled over, and at last his life felt his body through Brahmarandhra. With his ambrosial eye, Lord resurrected these dead fellows and their cattle, and together they came out of the demon's mouth. As soon as the demon died, a divine flame emerged from the python's mouth. It waited there some time for God, and when Lord Krishna came out, the flame mingled with him. Attachment of Brahma, stealing of cattle and cowherds. Parashar says, the cowherds told the tale of Aghasur's salvation to their parents only after a year of the incident. During that period of 1 year, Lord Krishna multiplied himself and took the guise of his fellow cowherd and their stock of cattle to remove the illusion of Brahma, who was the cause of the following incidents. After Aghasur's life mingled with God, Lord Krishna came with his fellow cowherd on the bank of Yamuna. They left their cattle to graze freely, and they sat together to take their lunch. All of the cowherds instead one another food as they wanted to feed Krishna with the tasty food. Meanwhile, surprised by Aghasur's salvation, Brahma too had arrived there and saw Krishna eating food defiled by the cowherds. With that sight, Brahma grew suspicious if Krishna was indeed an incarnation of Lord. Thus, driven by the illusion and to test the authenticity of Lord's incarnation, Brahma kidnapped all the cattle first, and when Krishna went out to search the cattle, Brahma kidnapped and concealed the cowherds also. Soon Lord Krishna understood the craftiness of Brahma, so he multiplied himself into his fellow cowherds and cattle. Replicas resemble truly to the cowherds in appearance, complexion, nature, activities, voice, stick, and even in costumes. The replicas remain in existence for complete 1 year. Back there, when Brahma returned after hiding the cowherds and the cattle, he was stunned to see the cowherds and cattle as usual. Brahma was feeling dizzy when Lord bestowed his grace on him. Brahma saw Narayana in every dust particle. Brahma therefore bowed his head at the feet of Lord and said, O Lord, I submit before you. You can be won only with devotion and not by ego. No one can know your omnipresent appearance. Thus, praying and worshipping Lord Narayana, Brahma returned to his abode. The cowherds remained separated from God for 1 year, but they felt as if only half a second has passed because of the illusionary influence of God. That is why they related the incidents of Agasur's killing to their parents only after a year it took place. Salvation of Dhinasukasur. When Krishna and Balrama entered 6th year of their ages, they got the permission to take the cattle out of for grazing. Along with their fellow cowherds, the two brothers too began to take their cattle to Vrindavan. Thus they sanctified the earth of Vrindavan with their pious feet. Seeing the beauty of Vrindavan, with beautiful, colorful flowers and sweet fruits, Lord Krishna felt overjoyed. He then used to graze his cattle at the foothills of Govardhan and on the banks of Yamuna river. Playing flute was his favorite pastime. One day Krishna's beloved friend Sudama said, Kanaya, there is a beautiful forest named Talvana. It has uncountable numbers of trees laden with ripe fruits. But a formidable demon Dhenukasur guards that forest. He is very strong, so no one goes there. Even animals and birds shun that place. But we are tempted to eat those sweet, delicious fruits. If you and thou, Balrama, wish, we may go there and eat those delicious fruits. Thus, hearing this, Krishna and Balrama guided all of them to Talwar. There they shook the trees, and in no time a heap of ripe, delicious fruits gathered under the trees. All the cowherds began to eat fruits. While eating, they were also making lot of noises. Disturbed by the sound of fruits falling and noise of the cowherds, the demon Dhenukasur arrived there as a donkey. He was braying loudly and tried to hit Balrama, but Balrama caught him by his hind legs and threw him in the air. The demon died in an instant. Since that day, everyone visited Talvana fearlessly, and the cattle grazed there freely. Graze on Kaliya, the Naga. One day, Balarama Krishna arrived on the banks of Yamuna with their friends. Balrama was not with them that day. The water of the river Yamuna was intoxicated by the poison of Kaliya, the Naga. It was exceptionally hot that day, and all the cowherds and cattle were very thirsty. So, without giving any thought, they all drank the water from Yamuna and died. But Lord Krishna resurrected them by his ambrosial sight. Then Lord Krishna decided to purify the waters of Yamuna. Thus, tying a cloth round his waist, Krishna climbed a sadambha tree and jumped into the river. In the water, the Lord started playing and splashing water. Soon the waves began to rise high. When Kaliya, the Naga, heard the noise, he got extremely angry and appeared before Krishna. He saw a beautiful, tender, dark-complexioned boy playing joyfully in the water. He stung him and tied him in his spirals. Tied in the spiral of Kaliya, Lord became absolutely motionless. Seeing Krishna in death-like situation, all the cowherds and even the cows felt very sorry. Just then Lord freed himself from the hold of Kaliya. Then a game of hide and seek began between them. Lord dodged the Naga for a long time. Thereafter he rode on Kaliya's hood and began to dance there. The followers of God, like Gandharvas, began to play mridanga, dhol, to give him a company. Tired from the blows of the Lord's feet, Kaliya soon began to vomit blood. Naga's wives began to pray God, O Lord, your incarnation is to punish the evil ones for their sins. You have shown your grace on us also. We are fortunate to have a sight and touch of your feet. Pity, O Lord, this Naga can no longer bear your momentum. He will die. We are all your slaves. Kalia is our Lord. Kindly forgive him. With kindness, Lord released Kalia, who prayed thus, O Lord, in your recreation, we snakes represent Tamoguna. We are confused by your illusion. Lord dictated Kalia to migrate with his family to Ramantakadvip. Since then, water of Yamuna became pure for humans and animals. Drinking of Davanal, forest fire. After defeating Kalia, Lord Krishna and all other people of Braj felt extremely tired. They were very hungry and thirsty also. So they did not go back to Vrindavan but stayed on the bank of Yamuna in the night. Because of intense heat of summer, surrounding forests had been shriveled. At midnight, those shriveled forests caught fire, and the sleeping people were engulfed by it. They awakened startled and took shelter at Krishna. Seeing their horrified appearance, Lord Krishna drank the infernal forest fire and thus saved the lives of innocent people who had rested their lives at him with faith. Salvation of Pralambhasur. One day Balarama and Krishna were playfully grazing their cattle along with other cowherds in the forest. When a demon Pralambha arrived there with an intention of kidnapping Krishna and Balarama, the demon had come in the guise of a coward, but the god easily recognized him. They accepted his proposal of friendship, but were thinking about the way for his salvation. God thereafter summoned all his friends and said, Pals, today we shall divide ourselves into 2 teams and play joyfully. Thus the teams were divided and each team chose Krishna and Balarama as its captain, respectively. It was stipulated that the members of defeated team would carry the members of winner team on their backs up to the place pointed by them. Thus the game began and soon both the teams reached a secluded place. At one time the team headed by Balarama won, so the members of Krishna's team were to carry them on their back. Demon Pralambhasur offered Balarama a ride on his back. Balarama agreed to ride on the demon's back. But as soon as he rode on the demon's back, the demon galloped. But he could not go far for not being able to bear Balarama's weight. Then the demon regained his huge formidable size and tried to escape by flying. First Balarama felt terrorized, but soon he realized his real powers and hit on the demon's head with a powerful fist. The blow shattered demon's head and he fell on earth dead like a huge mountain. Parashar says, most of the time of Lord Krishna's boyhood passed in Vrindavan. There he grazed cattle and played flute. His flute had a divine enchanting sound. The gopis used to gather around him, drawn by the enchanting tune. They also heard the enchanting Venu Geet that fills one's heart with the memory of Bhagavat. One of the girls said to her friend, our dear friend, having the privilege of seeing Lord's beauty and receiving his kindness is the real salvation. Another girl said, O friend, what tenants this flute had observed that it has got a closer contact with the lips of Nandanan, an epithet of Krishna. Even the siblings of this flute, trees and other vegetations are pleased with its fortune and are hence showering their leaves and flowers on him. One more said, O friend, look, even Bhagavati Lakshmi has left her luxurious abode in Vaikunth and arrived in Vrindavana to have a look of Lord Devakinandana. A gopi expressed her jealousy. Even his doe is better than us. Oh friends, look how engrossed is she looking at God that her eyes are not blinking. Hearing the sweet enchanting tunes of flute, even the heavenly elves gather in the sky over Vrindavana. They also see the beauty of Lord Krishna and showered the flowers of their braids on him. Even the cows forgot grazing when then heard the enchanting music of flute. The cows too forget Even the cows forgot grazing when they heard the enchanting music of flute. The cows too forgot drinking milk and began to look at Lord Krishna with joy. This is the real devotion for Lord Krishna. You have to forget yourself in order to find him. Condition of girls of Vrindavan was exactly the same. After having the sight of Lord Krishna, they remembered nothing, not even the way back to home. They stood in the forest in a trance, completely tired, unaware of their self. A girl said, pointing to the fauna, "Look, oh friend, look at these birds. Do you know that these birds were the saints and sages in their previous birth? In this birth also, they are sitting in a state of trance. Look, they have forgotten their knowledge, hearing the sweet enchanting music of the flute. And look at Yamuna. She is also unable to contain her exhilaration. She is eagerly splashing her waves to wash Lord's feet." Yet another girl said, "Look, friends, the clouds cannot see their Lord scorching in the sun. So they have covered the sun and shaded Lord Krishna. Now they are drizzling as if showering petals." A girl said, "Friends, look, these Bilanis are better than us. They have such a strong urge of Krishna's sight that when Govinda returns home, they smear their body with dust of his feet. Blessed in this mountain which has dedicated its entire self in the feet of Vrindavan and feels overjoyed. It is his supreme devotee. Kanaya has infused even long-living and non-living things with life by his sweet tunes of flute." Stealing the clothes. The unmarried girls of Vrindavana felt as if their lives were dedicated to Lord Krishna. Each of them wished heartily to have Lord Krishna as her husband. So in order to get their desire fulfilled, all of the spinster girls of Vraj began to take bath in Yamuna early in morning of Hemant season and worshipped goddess Katyayani. When Madan Mohan learned that the unmarried girls wished to marry him, he went to see them at dawn. The girls were bathing naked in the river. Their clothes were kept on the bank. Lord Krishna stealingly took those clothes and climbed on a kadamba tree. Lord had not stolen their clothes with malicious intentions. He had stolen them to remove their flaws and make them realize their real appearance, that they were not mere girls, but pure souls. Without realization of the real self, one cannot experience the God. The girls were in fact the hymns of Veda, sadhana, siddhis and sages and Brahma Vidyas, Vedas, themselves that took the guise of girls to enjoy the vicinity of the God. God removed their clothes that symbolized lust. Because of the Lord's grace, they all were able to enjoy God's company. Parashar said, "O Maitreya, thus Lord Krishna removed the shyness of the girls of Raja through his sweet talks. He derided at them, made them dance like puppets, and even stole their clothes when they were bathing naked, but they did not deter his action. Instead, they felt overjoyed by the close presence of their beloved Kanaya."